Athanasius says this is all wrong. And he proposes what in my view at least, is really a radical break with most of what had preceded him. He proposes, as an alternative to Arianism, the idea that, as you know what he proposes, the idea that Jesus Christ is God on earth, not the Son in contradistinction to the Father. The Son is sort of as a almost meaningless distinction, because if Jesus is actually God himself in person on earth, in the person of Jesus Christ, one of the tendencies of that doctrine is to minimize his human aspects. In fact, one of the Nicene Fathers, Gregory of Nyssa, describes Jesus as human, who is an Athanasian, describes Jesus' as human content versus his divine content as similar to a drop of water in the ocean. So Athanasius says Jesus was holy man. Holy man, I have to mention this because there's clearly a danger, it's already been branded as a heresy, that if Jesus were not actually man, he could be considered an illusion. It's a Gnostic, one of the many Gnostic heresies. He could be considered a spirit, an apparition, or the Sabellian heresy, an aspect of God's activity. An aspect of God's activity, which means not a real man. He said Jesus is a real man. But then he says, and he's also really God. And to which the Arians make the rationalistic, if you like, objection. How can that be? These are mutually exclusive categories. To be holy man and holy God are mutually exclusive categories because our Jewish teachers taught us that the great difference in the universe is the difference between man and God, or between the created realm and the Creator. And not only, and if you start to abolish that difference, you get into pantheism and all sorts of trouble. And the Athanasius' answer is, it's a mystery. That's a mystery. It's one, if you can't understand it, it's because God is very hard to understand. God can do anything he wants, and if he wants to become a man, he can do that. And who are you to say that he can't? Well, some logically trained Arians immediately said, wait a minute, there are some things that God by definition can't do. He can't become not God. Right? I mean, he can't become the devil. At any rate, and so the battle lines are drawn. So there are two questions I want to get to quickly. One is, three questions actually. One is, why did the dispute become so violent so quickly and last for so long? It lasted almost 100 years. And I won't bore you. You can read the book if you want to see some of the details of the violence. I won't bore you with it now. But several cities were burned down in riots between Arians and Athanasians. Lots of people were executed or kidnapped or mugged or beaten or assassinated. It was a very violent, very intense, very violent conflict. One of the reasons it was violent, by the way, was that in some cities the forces were very evenly divided between Arians and Athanasians.